Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar on how to grow your mobile app revenue through SDK bidding. My name is Ranjan. I'm a web and apps monetization specialist, and I'm joining you today from the Dublin office. I also have with me Juliana, who is a technical solutions manager, and she's joining us from Argentina. A couple notes and housekeeping remarks before we begin. This recording will be available to watch on your own time at the same page later. So you can always come back to this link or to Publishers on Air to rewatch trainings. We will answer, but please submit questions at any time throughout the event. And finally, you will get an email with a feedback survey at the end of the session. You will also see the form appear on the right during the session. So please take a few minutes to fill that out so we can continue to improve our webinars. With that, let's go through the agenda for the session today. So here is a quick snapshot of what we will be covering. So we will start with an overview of SDK bidding. Then Juliana will walk us through the implementation steps in detail. This is going to be extremely helpful to you if you are planning to on using SDK bidding feature. We will also share some tips and best practices, including reporting. And finally, we will go through some frequently asked questions and also take your live questions, if any. With that, let's start with the overview of SDK bidding. So what is SDK bidding exactly? In simple terms, SDK bidding allows third-party buyers to compete for your mobile app inventory in real time. This means that you can get the highest possible price for your ad impressions. It provides a streamlined and simple onboarding experience for publishers to connect with bidding partners using proprietary SDKs. So just for some context, so previously we have had different programs for different bidding demands using third-party SDKs. That is open bidding with and without onboard online or authorized buyers and so on. So this caused buyer onboarding experience cumbersome for publishers. To streamline and simplify the implementation process for you, we are consolidating all the bidders using proprietary SDKs on mobile app inventory to this new bidding program, SDK Bidding. This will make buyers who were previously only available to Ad Manager 360 publishers with an addendum accessible to all Ad Manager publishers. An addendum will still be required, but it can now be done within the Ad Manager interface itself. So the thing to keep in mind is that if you use Google Ad Manager to manage M-App traffic and would like to integrate with third-party buyers with their own SDKs, this feature might be a good fit for you. Note that using SDK bidding is not mandatory, and you always have the option to work with the partners however you want, including the traditional waterfall mediation method. Here is a list of third-party partners currently supported on SDK bidding. Some of them are AppLovin, IronSource, and Meta Audience Network, among many others. We are constantly adding new SDK bidding partners to Ad Manager. Some of these partners might be in closed betas. You might refer to the developer guide for latest status, and you can always reach out to your account managers for more details. SDK bidding can lead to a significant increase in ad revenue. In fact, we have seen an average increase of 11% in EMEA alone. Also, we have seen significant uplifts for Android devices and the interstitial format. Note that the results can vary for every publisher depending on their industry, ad manager setup, auction dynamics, and there can be a lot of factors that can influence a revenue uplift. So it's always recommended to test out the product setup that works the best for your business needs. Now, coming to the benefits of SDK bidding. So, as you can see, there are a lot of benefits when it comes to this feature. It simplifies the setup process, reduces latency, and provides unified reporting and billing. Let's take a closer look at each of these in detail. So, SDK bidding enables all demand sources to compete in a single real time auction to fill your ad requests and helps ensure you get the highest revenue and CPMs for your impressions. As we saw, there are multiple SDK partners such as Meta, AppLovin, Pangle, and so on already included in this feature. And our goal is to consolidate all the bidders using proprietary SDKs on mobile app inventory to SDK bidding. Also, all important formats such as banner, interstitial, rewarded, etc. are supported, which increases auction pressure and gets you the format with the highest CPM for every single auction. Another important feature of SDK bidding is the ease of setup it provides. Juliana will talk more about the implementation process in a few minutes, but I would just like to highlight that the available SDK bidders can be onboarded directly from within the Ad Manager UI. You don't need to enter into any offline contracts with them or handle billing outside of the GAM interface, thus vastly simplifying the process for you. Then moving on, so unlike traditional waterfall mediation setup, SDK bidding provides server-to-server bidding, thus reducing latency and improving ad performance. This improves metrics such as page speed and viewability and reduces misconfiguration errors, all of which lead to higher CPMs for you in the long term. To reiterate, an important SDK bidding feature is the ease of billing. There is complete alignment between what buyers bid and pay. You can easily see the payment breakdown from non-direct pay bidders by navigating to Payments tab, then going to Payments info, and then clicking at Transactions. I will now pass over to Juliana to walk us through implementation steps for SDK bidding in the Ad Manager.
Thank you. So yes, now let's talk about the implementation. What are the steps to get started with SDK bidding? First step, agree to SDK bidding terms. Carefully review and accept the terms and conditions to SDK bidding. Second step, initiate contact and connect with potential new buyers. Third, onboarding. Guide new buyers through the necessary steps to join your platform. 4. Integrate buyers SDK. Implement the SDK provided by buyers into your mobile application. Now let's go through each step in more detail. First step. To use SDK bidding, Ad Manager publisher must first accept the SDK bidding terms on the Ad Manager UI. To do this, you can click in Delivery tab, Buyers SDK bidding, click Review SDK bidding terms, review the SDK bidding terms, then click Accept. Once accepted, you can add new SDK bidding buyers. Next slide. Step 2, connect with new buyers. On Ad Manager UI, you can click on Delivery, Buyers SDK bidding as mentioned previously, and then click on the button that says New Buyer, search and click on the name of the buyer that you would like to add, then click Continue to enable SDK bidding for this buyer and click Done. Next slide. For step 3, onboard new buyers. So on the individual buyer screen, follow the UI instructions to enable secure signal sharing as required by the buyer. Create iUnit mappings. Next slide. Thank you. Step 4, install the Buyers SDK in your mobile app. Follow the developer guide to make sure the Buyers SDK is installed properly in your mobile application to support third-party ad rendering. Okay, so now we are going to explore some best practices and best tips. So first is troubleshooting. If you encounter any issues, you can utilize the Ad Inspector to troubleshoot common problems, such as those related to SDK adapters. Next slide. Thank you. As mentioned, some common issues you'll see on the Ad Inspector tool are SDK adapter issues. For example, adapter not found and didn't need initialize. Some third-party ad sources require an SDK and its GMA SDK specific adapter to load and display ads from that source. Adapter not found means that the GMA SDK cannot find your third-party adapter or SDK. Also, each third-party ad source SDK adapter needs to be explicitly initialized in your code base with the necessary parameters. If you forget to initialize it, then you'll see the error "don't initialize." Next slide. For optimal results, ensure all units, formats, and inventory are mapped, as buyers won't participate without these mappings. You can verify these using Ad Inspector as well. Upon opening Ad Inspector, it will display all the units mappings configured for your app. If any are missing, add them. To stay within the limit of 250 units mapping per app and 1,000 network-wide, focus on creating only top-level units. Instead of using a general run-of-network approach, map specific units IDs to ensure precise matching between inventory and format types. Next slide. Check your demand channel settings and protections to ensure you haven't applied any settings that might block an SDK binder. For instance, under protections, there is an option called Cookies and Data Uses, non-Google demand. If you enable all options within that protection, it will block Ad ID, that's the mobile advertising ID for Android, and IDFA, that's the mobile advertising ID for Apple, from being shared. This would prevent buyers like Meta from participating in the auction. So now if you need more help, if you've completed all this step and you're still not seeing ads in your app, you went through Ad Inspector and still nothing, you can contact Publisher Support for further assistance. When contacting to Publisher Support, remember to include the ad request response pair. In Ad Inspector, find the relevant line item, click on More Options, and choose Share Ad Request and Response. You can share this information with yourself first so you can easily forward it to Publisher Support via email later. Now I'm going to hand this over Ranjan again.
Uh, Thanks, Juliana. So, moving on with tips and best practices. So, talking about yield groups, you might know about yield groups in open bidding, but it's different with SDK bidding. Bidders don't need to be in a yield group for SDK bidding. If a bidder's SDK is installed and SDK bidding is turned on for that bidder, they will automatically receive all open auction ad requests. However, just remember that for SDK bidding to work, you need to make the inventory available to ad exchange either through a yield group or by setting up a specific ad exchange line item. As Juliana mentioned, you can use delivery tools to validate whether an ad exchange line item or yield group matches the ad request. Also, yield group and yield partner related dimensions and metrics in Ad Manager historical report will no longer apply to bidders using proprietary SDKs. We will go through reporting details shortly. Then ensure that the seller information for all SDK bidding partners is included in the app ads.txt file across all of your app's inventory. This is important as SDK bidders will only buy authorized inventory. Then moving on, pricing rules like those for advertiser floor prices are applicable to SDK bidding. So you can continue to use your unified pricing rule strategies the same way you might be currently using. However, protections like blocking rules don't automatically apply to SDK bidding partners. Ad Manager doesn't currently support creative scanning for SDK bidders, but we expect to support this soon. And in the future, network policies and protections will be turned off by default, but publishers, both in Ad Manager and AdMob, can turn these on by SDK Bidder. Then coming to reporting, Ad Manager reports display aggregated information about impressions and net revenue transacted through SDK bidding. To analyze how SDK bidding is performing, use the historical report type in Ad Manager. Set your desired date range and then filter by demand channel equals SDK bidding. Choose bidder as a dimension and include the total metrics that you might be interested in. For example, total impressions, total CPM and CPC revenue, and so on. And as we discussed a bit ago, keep in mind that since SDK bidding partners are not part of yield groups, so the metrics in the yield group section available in the reporting won't provide any insights for them. Additionally, Ad Manager reports won't show clicks for SDK bidding partners. You will need to check the SDK bidding partner's own reporting system to see the click data. With that, let's now go through a few frequently asked questions we often come across. The first one is, do publishers need to make any SDK changes for bidders migrated to SDK bidding? As in, if you are already using SDKs to integrate your demand, so do you need to make any changes to your existing SDKs to have this feature enabled? So the answer is that no SDK changes are required to continue transactions with bidders that migrate to SDK bidding. However, in general, we recommend that publishers should update bidders' proprietary SDKs to the latest version as and when that's available. Then why did the revenue of existing bidders drop to zero by using the yield, partner, and yield group related dimensions? So also, as we sort of talked about it in the presentation, so yield group and yield partner related dimensions and metrics in Ad Manager historical report will no longer apply to bidders using proprietary SDKs. So use demand channel and bidder dimensions, and then metrics such as total impressions, total CPM and CPC revenue, etc. instead. For the next question, I will pass over to Juliana again.
Yeah, thank you again. So does this opportunity apply to MCM partners? So yes, MCM partners can add SDK bidding partners for represented inventory. However, parent publishers wishing to use SDK bidding should consider the added complexity to receive bid requests as SDK bidded may need placement information, secure signals, or both. For placement sharing and secure signals, Google supports having a single configuration per network. The configuration is based on the app ID. If the child app uses their Google Ad Manager app ID, the GMA SDK won't send secure signals with the ad request. If the bidder requires secure signals, the bidder will be filtered in the parent's auction and won't get a bid request. Bidders that don't require signals will be eligible for bid request. There is another limitation for this. For Meta, child apps need to be willing to use parents' apps ID in their manifest file, and you can add the app ID in the MCM's Google Ad Manager console, inventory apps ID on the UI. Now we're going to move to the live Q&A. Feel free to type if you have any questions.
Okay, so we see that there are some questions in here already. So the first one is this using the mediation API of AdMob? So if you are using AdMob, so this workflow is already integrated to AdMob, and you don't have to make any changes to your existing workflows. This is applicable only for Google Ad Manager 360 and the regular Google Ad Manager accounts. And just to reiterate, if you use AdMob, there is no change required in your workflow. And this real-time bidding for SDK bidders is already integrated in AdMob. Then for the next question, I will read it over and pass over to Juliana. Does this need adapter or no integration is needed at SDK level? Uh, Juliana, can you please help answer this one? So the question says, does this need adapter or there is no integration required at SDK level?
Thank you. So I think that we mentioned at the beginning all the implementations if steps required. I I don't know the part of integration required at SDK level, what that means exactly on these questions, but if you are wondering if you will need any uh, other integration, depends on the specific network that you would like to add. So you can ask for a specific bidder if you would like to know more. Also, you can always contact publisher support or your ad manager uh, account account manager for specific instructions to add a specific bidder.
Thanks, Juliana. So the next question is, what is SDK key in mapped inventory option? I'm not sure if this is top of my mind. Juliana, would you be aware of this? The mapped SDK key in the
Yeah, I know.
inventory option.
I don't know if they're talking about the app, the unique identifier associated with their mobile application, so the app ID, or if with mapping they are talking about uh, iUnit mapping or something different on these questions. But if you're talking about the unique identifier that you use for your mobile application, then you can um, it, it will help AdMob identify your specific app among the multitude of apps using your SDK binding. That's what that key will do. If you're talking about iUnits, that inventory mapping will enable the mapping of iUnits within your app to the corresponding iUnits uh, that you have.
Cool. Okay, then the next question is, in the bidder tab, we can see just 4 to 5 available bidders. Can we add more? So there are more bidders constantly being added, and as and when they become available for your specific GAM account, you will be able to see them. That said, some of them might still be in alpha or closed betas. So you can always reach out to your respective account managers to make them available to your account if it's eligible. Then, is there a workaround to add protections, or is it simply not possible to filter demand at the moment? So again, as we discussed during the presentation, like this is being worked on, and it should be available like over the next few weeks. That said, like a few bidders are under alpha to enable this functionality, to enable the protections functionality. And again, feel free to reach out to your respective account managers to enable these alphas and betas. Juliana, would you like to talk about how secure signal sharing works in app? And if you can explain in short, that will be helpful. Juliana, if you can explain this one, how secure signal sharing works in app, and if you can explain in short, that will be helpful.
Oh yeah, thank you. So just to repeat the question, I know that we said it. How secure sign sharing works in app. So I don't know if I can explain it in short, but um, this will. So first, that all you will need to enable secure sign-up for your bidder if necessary, and you can do that on the delivery, and then just checking the bidder and clicking the SDK biders, and then click the bidder you verify. Then you can um, under the skills sign assurance require confirm the required steps to show enable. For this, you need to make sure the Via SDK is installed properly in your mobile application to support third-party ad rendering. And then, if you have any issues with this, we actually have a help center that explains what would happen if you have issues with installing secure sign-on. But the UI will let you know if you have um, any issues, and mostly you will use this to allow. So when you accept secure sign assurance, you allow sign assurance with the partner. You will need to accept all the ads and data processing terms, and then you can turn on the secure sign-on in your network level, as well as for this specific bidder. And then you will need to do the ad mapping again. This is all to enhance the bidding process, potentially increase revenue. So when an ad request is made, um, the publisher's app or your app collects the relevant no personally identifiable information. So that's what it secure signals about the user or the ad context. And then these signals are encrypted to protect user privacy. And during the real-time bidding process, the encrypted secure signals are shared with the authorized SDK bidder that you previously selected. Um, and that's only if you um, turn on that option for that SDK bidder. And then the bidder can use the secure signal to evaluate the ad opportunity and submit more informed bids for that specific request.
Okay, moving on to the next one. So, is there a way to estimate the impact on inventory before integrating an SDK? So yes, it's possible to do an A/B experiment like with SDK bidding and your traditional waterfall mediation setup. So you can run an A/B experiment like for the same demand partner, which is integrated both through SDK bidding and through waterfall mediation setup, and then see like if there is any difference in the results that you get. Then the next one is, can we add our own bidders that we have contracts with in the ad manager? So right now, like it's only the standard bidders that are available. But if you think you might benefit from adding in additional bidders, please feel free to pass along like the list to your ad manager, to your account managers, who in turn can reach out to the product team to see the feasibility of adding in new bidders. Okay, so we don't see any more questions right now, but again, as we mentioned, please feel free to reach out to us through the feedback form that you might have received already. That will also enable you access to all the content that we presented today. And feel free to reach out to us, and we will get back with any outstanding questions you might have. With that, thank you so much for taking the time out and joining us today. Thank you.